This is Beer in Front, part of the Beer Media Group. Every week I'll talk to people in and around the beer world and get their stories all about beer. That's Beer in Front, and it's coming up now. Welcome to episode 243 of Beer in Front. I'm your host, Dave Zalatoris, and Beer in Front is a charter member of the Beer Media Group. I have a good show today. I'm going to talk to my friend Leo Allen. He told me a couple years back about there's these beer tunnels in Cincinnati that, well, you just need to stay tuned and listen to the interview and listen to Leo tell you about it. But it's a fascinating story, so be sure to check that out. Don't fast forward. Listen to the whole show. I mentioned on the show a couple weeks ago that the new place is opening up, and in fact, it opened up today. I'm recording this on Wednesday night, February 5th. Earlier today was the grand opening of Diversity House. This is Moore's Brewing Company and Steep Ravine, formerly known as Ravinia. They've joined forces, and they've opened up Diversity House on Diversity in the Logan Square area. I was there today for the grand opening, and it was a really cool place. I like the vibe, good beer selections. Later on in the show, I'm going to have as the beer in front, the Helles Lager from Moore's Brewing Company, so stay tuned for that. That is a terrific beer. Do you like beer? Well, I'm assuming you do if you're listening to this. But next week's show, I'm going to talk to the founder and president of Brew Sake. This is a beer made to enhance sake, to bring out the flavors of Japanese cuisine. I thought that was really good. I talked to him earlier today, so that episode's going to drop next week, but that was really cool. So if you like Japanese food and you like sake, be sure to catch next week's episode. Yeah, I mentioned it last week on the show, but if you follow me on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, I posted a video last week where you could win a Beer in Front travel mug. Who doesn't need another stainless steel travel mug? So find that video, subscribe to whatever platform you're watching it on, like the video, and I'm going to pick a winner on Super Bowl Sunday, and I will let everyone know next week on the podcast who won the Beer in Front travel mug. In beer and beverage news, if you live on the north side of Chicago, head over to Dovetail by the 9th. They're having a sale on their Helles. You could pick up a 4-pack of the great Helles that they put out for $6.99 or a case of 24 for $40. You can't go wrong. Head over to Dovetail and get you some Helles. Staying on the north side of Chicago, Maplewood is expanding. They're going to take over the remaining 3,000 square feet of the building that there was a catering company next to them. They moved out. Maplewood's taken over that square footage, and they're going to bring back the food menu, and they're going to build out like a new lounge area, increase the tap room, have more draft lines. So that's really cool. So that'll be coming up in the near future from Maplewood. Firestone Walker is coming out with a variety pack of turbo radlers. So these are radlers amped up to 8% alcohol. They're going to be called Mind Haze. And from what I read, there's going to be a grapefruit, a lemonade, and a watermelon. So if you want an amped up radler, you got to check out Mind Haze from Firestone Walker. Speaking of amped up, Four Loko. And if you don't watch my videos on social media, follow me over on YouTube and TikTok and all of that. I did a Four Loko review. My God, was that horrible. But they have a camouflage flavored one coming out, 13.9%. I don't know what camouflage is supposed to taste like, but if you like Four Loko or you want to just get drunk fast and cheap, you could check out the camo version of Four Loko. Two iconic breweries out of San Diego are teaming up. AleSmith and Modern Times are coming up with a joint effort. This is their barrel-aged Speedway Stout in Monsters Park. It's going to be a chocolate espresso barrel-aged stout. I don't know, but I like everything from the Speedway Stout line. I've always liked everything from Modern Times, so I'm looking forward to trying this when this comes out. I'm a big fan of Prairie Artisan Ales. I've talked about them on the show. Actually, someone from their brewery reached out and sent me some stuff from them a couple years ago to talk about. I'm a big fan. I was a big fan before. I'm still a big fan. But they're coming out with an Italian Pilsner. Oh, if the person from Prairie is still listening to this show, remember my address. I love Italian Pilsner. So Prairie is known for, they're not known for lagers. I mean, they're more sours, and everything they have is great. But I'm looking forward to this. I know some of the distribution is here in Illinois. Hopefully this will be, because no, I'm stoked about this. I'm a big fan of Italian Pilsners. Miller Lite is turning 50 in 2025. Look for a special commemorative can. It's a gold can with a darker gold logo and lettering. The can looks really sharp, so look for that this year for the 50th anniversary of Miller Lite. Absolute has put out like a ready-to-drink cocktail for a while. It's like a vodka soda type seltzer, and they're increasing their line. That's going to come out later this year. They're going to have a white cranberry peach, a vodka cranberry, a mango. So I think they're even going to do an espresso. So look for that for Absolute, and they're teaming up with Ocean Spray for this. That's one seltzer I have not tried yet, so I definitely will give it a try. I've seen it. It's one of those like, let me grab something else, but I'll definitely have to pick up one of those. Like the white cranberry peach sounds intriguing, so I'll have to grab one of those and do a review on video. But if you like vodka type seltzers, look for the new line coming out from Absolute and Ocean Spray. And finally, I don't know where this is going because it changes minute to minute, day by day. Earlier this week, the U.S. government announced a 25% tariff on items from Mexico and Canada, where you may say, well, how does this affect me as a beer drinker? If you like Mexican imports, guess what's getting the tariff? A lot of U.S. breweries use malt from Canada. They also, a lot of companies get their aluminum cans from Canada. So a 25% increase on that is going to hit us beer consumers in the pocket. Well, a day later, the tariffs have been postponed for 30 days because the Canadian government and the Mexican government agreed to do the same things they agreed to do under President Biden. But now I guess this sounds better. I don't know where this is going. Who knows? Maybe by the time you listen to this, the tariffs will be back. But it's exhausting to read the news lately and see what's going on with this. But I'm assuming sooner rather than later, we're going to see the tariffs, and that's probably going to increase the cost for us beer drinkers here in the United States. All right, welcome back. I'm excited to talk to my friend Leo J. Allen Jr. If you remember a couple years back, Leo was on the show. I did a show, a Father's Day episode, and we talked about beers that our parents drank growing up. And I remember back then, Leo and I talk on social media. He mentioned to me about the Cincinnati Beer Tunnels, and I was like, what? I never heard of this. So we're going to talk now about the Cincinnati Beer Tunnels, beer in the Cincinnati area, as well as everything about Leo. Leo, thanks for talking today. Appreciate it, sir.
Thanks for having me back, Dave. It's always a pleasure. Always listen to your show, and I always get thirsty. I just remember that Father's Day episode. I remember talking about Wiedemann.
Yep.
The little brown bottles.
Oh.
The memories.
Yeah. Well, we're having something a little more current from the Cincinnati area. Having right now Rheingeist Truth. Rheingeist, and I even asked like the person, and he's really knowledgeable at my bottle shop. I'm like, talking to a friend of mine from Cincinnati, I know I can get Rheingeist. Anything else from the area? And he just shook his head. He's like, Rheingeist is it, but you can't go wrong with Truth.
You can't go wrong with Truth, and you have to be careful with Truth because of its volume, its content. It's a bit strong. It's got some weight to it.
Yeah, 7.2%.
Yeah.
I mean, this is just a great West Coast style IPA. If you're unfamiliar with the beer, just a classic version of that style that is highly recommended.
And you know what's funny is a lot of those IPAs I don't really care for, but this one I do. I do like the Truth. And maybe that's just it. I'm just a fan of the Truth.
Yes.
Nothing but the Truth.
Yeah. Now, do you find yourself, because I've noticed, like, since I've started doing this show, a lot of people who never were IPA fans, like, say, 10 years ago, when the hazy ones came out, they're more of a fan of that and because of that, they started drinking them more, and now they appreciate the older West Coast styles. Is that something that you've noticed?
I think what happened with me personally was at the time I was more of a Pilsner guy. And then when the IPA started coming around and everyone was drinking them and I tried them like, ooh, and I think what happens is over time, your palate just changes, especially if you find one that you like. And I think from then, so yeah, I can appreciate the IPAs better now. And there's a lot of them in Cincinnati. Yeah, we'll get to that later, I guess. So.
Well, Rheingeist is always a winner, but we're going to talk about the tunnels. So I knew nothing about this until you mentioned it up. And then I've done some research and I've had this thing bookmarked on my, browser on Chrome for the last 2 or 3 years. So I've been waiting to talk to you, but tell people about the underground Cincinnati Beer Tunnels.
Well, here's the thing about them. There's a common misunderstanding, and I actually had this misunderstanding too, that these were beer tunnels that were there for the Prohibition era. And there used to be these stories about, oh yes, they used to hide the beer down here during Prohibition. And actually, that's wrong. Actually, these tunnels are pre-Prohibition. Because what happens is Cincinnati has this rich beer history. At one time, Cincinnati was producing and consuming so much beer, like in the 1800s, about 1890, it was dubbed the beer capital of the world. Because what happened, there were a lot of German immigrants into Cincinnati, and that's how we have the over the Rhine area, hence Rheingeist. And when they were brewing at the time, you had to let those, they had to have a place to store those barrels for the aging process. And this was long before, we use newfangled technology now. They didn't have that back then. So they dug these tunnels and they would put the beer barrels down there for the aging process.
And like I was reading, is there like a lot of limestone around there and that like helped keep the beer cool?
Yeah. And it's awesome because when you see them and you can do these tours, it's kind of amazing just to see it, the old stonework, like the breweries that have them in the areas where these tunnels are. And to be clear, these aren't like tunnels that are just running all under the city of Cincinnati. They're basically tunnels under breweries to store barrels of beer. A couple of places put some dining tables down there. So when you do the tours, you can actually, some places you can sit down there and eat whatever. And so, yeah, when you look at the old stonework, most of them, they haven't touched it. They just left it as is. So, yeah, you get that old limestone and it's really cool to see.
Yeah, I was looking and it looks like, the tours are still going on. The website that I was looking at, it's about 6 years old. So I'm like, oh, let me see if this is still going on. But yeah, you could book a tour tomorrow if you wanted to for $49. It looks like it's about a 2.5 hour tour. This looks like extremely fascinating. And reading more, there's like a place there where Annie Oakley got into a shooting competition with her future husband. So anybody that's old like us who knows the old Squeeze song, Annie, Get Your Gun, right there, you could go to the place where Annie Oakley got into a sharpshooting contest.
Absolutely. There's signs in Cincinnati about that.
Okay.
So,
well, Rheingeist is really big. What are some of the other like local craft breweries that, if people were to go, they could go visit?
well, I'll tell you some of my favorites.
Okay.
Well, I'll start with one of the biggest ones. Other than Rheingeist, there's Mad Tree in Oakley. They serve beer and mixed drinks on tap with oven-fired pizza. The pizza there is actually really good. And of course, like a lot of tap houses, they have a nice big patio with lots of picnic tables and whatnot. So, when the weather is more cooperative than what it is now, you can sit out there and eat and whatnot, pet friendly and blah, blah, blah. Then there's also Moorline Lager House in Schmale Park, right down there on the river. Now, this one, they may be a bit more famous than Mad Tree, now that I mentioned, because Moorline has been there for quite some time, and they have the namesake anyway, the Moorline. Now they also do bourbon and whiskeys, because in southwestern Ohio and northern Kentucky, bourbon and whiskey it's almost as big as the beer culture. Actually, it may be bigger than the beer culture. So when you come down there, you may have to get you some brown spirits while you're there. And then my favorite there at Moorline, there's the Bay of Bengal Juicy Press. It's a 6% IPA. Again, like I said, I didn't really care for IPAs at first, but this one became a favorite. It's really crisp and finishes well. They also have this thing. I tried it once just to try it. It's called Baltic Porter. It's an 8.2% classic dark with chocolate and caramel character in it. So if you could think of like a Guinness, but stronger.
Yeah, with a little heft, yeah.
So I was there with a buddy once. I'm like, well, I'll try it. But yeah, that's something especially in the summertime, I could not drink that. That's a little too heavy for me.
Yeah, that's more of like a winter, fall type beer to have.
Yeah, something to keep you warm.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we mentioned Rheingeist, and that's located over the Rhine. And, of course, my favorite, we're drinking it right now, The Truth. But one beer right now that may be overtaking The Truth for me is we also have another brewery called Sonder. There's one located in Mason, Ohio, which is just north of Cincinnati. And of course, like all the breweries here, they all have food and mixed drinks on tap. Nice patio area. You can go out, sit outside, dog, pet friendly and whatnot. But my favorite is what is called You Betcha. And It's a 6.5% IPA. It's described as a New England hoppy hazy with hints of tropical fruit. And I think that's why I like it, because it's got just enough of a nice little sweet finish, if you will, which for a beer, I think that's good. For an IPA anyway. Now, my wife's favorite there, and actually I was drinking these throughout the summer with her because they only serve them in the spring and summer, is a drink called Sunkissed. And it's made with orange lemonade and high bank vodka. But
nice.
It's really, really good. Like you can't even really taste the vodka because it's mixed so well and it's so crisp and it's really refreshing, especially on a hot summer day.
Is that like more of a seltzer or a beer?
It's more of a seltzer.
Okay.
But very, very good. And then lastly, here we also have Lebanon, Ohio. I'm not sure if you're familiar with it. It's a historic town, home of some people may have heard of the Golden Lamb Inn. It's an old hotel and restaurant, which every president has visited up until, I think the last president, the one who broke the tradition, was surprisingly Obama. He never visited, but then no other president has been back since, but that's okay. But in Lebanon, it's called the Lebanon Brewing Company. although everyone calls it the firehouse because it is literally an old, well, it's not old, it was a former fire station.
Okay.
So it still has the garages for the fire trucks and everything, but they've set up dining room tables and you can see the taps or the distillery through the glass. There's a big pane of glass, so you can see all the tanks. And there, my favorite is a beer called the Bouncy Castle. And it's a 6.2% American IPA. But yeah, in this area, we have a lot of breweries. As a matter of fact, Cincinnati currently is ranked number 6 in the top 10 beer cities in America. So,
and I know, talking to my friend Rod J from Rod J's Beer Ventures, I jump on his podcast usually every Thursday. He does a live stream, and he's from the area, and he's mentioned that Cincinnati has the biggest Oktoberfest outside of Munich every year with, it's called Cincinnati or something like that?
Yes. Yeah. Well, there's Oktoberfest but it's incredibly crazy. It can sometimes be overwhelming because if you go to our local supermarkets and you're like, I'm just going to go grab some beer, get ready for an adventure because there's almost too many choices. But there's so much beer. It's crazy. And plus, one thing that changed, and I can't remember when the year it was that it happened. I should have looked this up. One year, the state of Ohio changed the restriction for the level of alcohol content that's allowed because it used to be 6% was the cap. Well, one year they decided, okay, and this was done, of course, by a bunch of lobbying from local breweries. They're like, look, we can make a lot more money if we can brew these kinds of things and offer greater alcohol content. So Ohio said, okay, and they changed it. And then that seemed like to be the tipping point, and boom, here we are. We have so much.
I know from the Cleveland area, Great Lakes, I've had a couple like barrel-aged beers that they've done, and that's well over 6%. And those have always been really good.
Well, we have this, there's Kentucky, what is it called? Kentucky Bourbon Barrel Ale. If you can, see if you can get a hold of those, or I may send you some. I don't know your feelings about bourbon, though.
I love bourbon. And I think I've seen that. I'll have to, once we hang up and stuff, I'll send you a picture, because I think I've seen that. And if it's the right one, I believe it's called that. But no, I think I have seen that on my travels locally here in Chicago.
Be careful with them. I'll tell you that. Yeah. Something's dangerous when it only comes in packs of 4.
Yeah.
That's my rule. So, but they've since branched out. They have blueberry flavors, vanilla flavors, strawberry, but the original Kentucky bourbon barrel ale is the best in the brown carton. So look for the brown carton.
All right. I'm going to keep an eye out for that. Well, what else have you have going on? I know you had a podcast before, Voluntary Input. You have your website, leojallenjr.com, and I'll include the links in the show notes. Well, what else is going on in your world, Leo?
So, everyone always asks about Voluntary Input. The plan was to bring it back January of this year, 2025. Other things came up. I'm not going to say it's not coming back. It's just a matter of timing. There's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. We'll put it that way. Also, there's, I've always been into music, so I have this, I really call it a passion project. I'm not trying to be a superstar, folks.
Yeah.
It's called Profound Simplicity, and you can go to, just go to youtube.com @Profound Simplicity, and you'll find it there. Working different kind of styles of music, but this is the stuff that goes on in my head, is what I tell people all the time. So welcome to my brain. And then, of course, my website, leojallenjr.com, and that's just kind of a place for me to spit out some other thoughts and do some tech stuff and reviews and things like that. And of course, you can find me on social media. I'm pretty much mostly active on Blue Sky. As a matter of fact, I'm only active on Blue Sky if I'm honest about it. So that's all the places you can find me and contact me. And of course, if you want to check out Voluntary Input, if you've never heard of it, you could just go to voluntaryinput.com. all of the previous episodes leading up to the hiatus are there, the videos and all that and whatnot.
Now, you've done, if I remember right, have you done like voice work and book narrations?
Audiobooks. I forgot about that. Yeah. Yes. And actually, I'm still available for that too. There's a service called ACX from Amazon. I'll tell you the truth about that business, and I feel sorry for anyone who does that as a professional, their only source of income. Sadly, AI has crippled that industry, and Amazon, I'm just going to say it, they should be ashamed of themselves because they give authors the tools for free to let an AI narrate their books so they don't have to pay narrators while at the same time having this service called ACX for narrators to sign up to try to work with authors to do their books. So it's like, you guys, you're killing an entire industry.
Yeah, pick a lane. What do you want? Yeah.
Exactly. Pick a lane. You're playing both sides of the coin here.
Yeah.
Because if I wrote a book, especially independent authors, I can understand. You're going to go with what's free or cheaper, because I will tell you that hiring someone to narrate your book, it's not cheap, but still, Amazon, shame on you.
Yeah. One of the podcast platforms that was big with independent podcasters, they had some AI stuff, and like they put a thing out on my page, and it was like they had my name wrong. I'm like, no.
Oh,
so as a joke, I went to an AI service and I took a celebrity's voice just to mess around with it. That was spot on. I'm like, this is scary shit right here.
Oh yeah, Dave, we could do as a matter of fact, go to Volunteer Input. I did do an entire series about AI. And I think a lot of people want me to pick up where I left off because I'm, especially in my profession, I mean, I work in IT. I'm an IT director for an agency, and I'm constantly researching into AI stuff and whatnot and yada yada, but it has turned into it continues to evolve and develop, and it's only going to keep getting quote unquote better, which, as you pointed out, is also scary for a lot of people, understandably so.
I mean, it was, I don't want to mention the actor's name, but he's a big voice actor. And I'm like, oh, okay. There was like an interview on YouTube, like a 10-minute interview. So I uploaded that YouTube video just to see how it would sound. With my voice, it was, like maybe because I could tell my inflections with everything. But this actor, oh my God. I'm like, this is insane.
Yeah. Welcome to 2025.
Yeah. I'm too old. I'm too old for this shit. Yes. Well, Leo, I really appreciate talking to you. I know we had our signals crossed up earlier today. I can't wait. Hopefully we'll get some new episodes of Voluntary Input coming out. You got the nice Rode microphone. You need to put that to use, sir.
I know I can't not use it because I spent money.
Yeah. But if you're interested in checking out the Cincinnati Underground Beer Tunnels, you can go to AmericanLegacyTours.com. They have a couple different tours you could take. They all look pretty cool. They have one called the Ultimate Queen City Underground Tour. They have a Hidden Caverns tour. So it looks like they're available throughout the weekend. You could check it out. Like, we're recording this on Saturday, February 1st. I could book tomorrow. So definitely, if you're in the Cincinnati area, checking out a Reds game, a Bengals game, going to the Cincinnati Rocktoberfest, check out that. Also, you need to go to LeoJAllenJr.com. Find out more about Leo Allen. Leo, I really appreciate it, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dave. Always a pleasure speaking with you. Now, I wouldn't be true to my locale if I didn't mention a different brewery or a tour company. They're called Brewing Heritage, and it's you just go to brewingheritagetrail.org. They are a local tour company, and they'll take you everywhere and tell you everything you need to know.
Brewing Heritage Trail?
Yep, .org.
All right, well, check that out. I'll include that link in the show notes as well, so you can check that out. Forget the other one. I'll edit that out, so you won't even know I'm talking about it. That was just what was on the webpage I looked at, so I'll put that link in the show notes. Leo, thank you so much again, sir.
Thank you, Dave. Have a good one and stay warm.
All right, you too, my man.
Take care.
All right, the local Illinois beer in front that I'm going to have right now is from Moore's Brewing Company. They are out of Chicago. This is their Helles Lager. This checks in at 5.1% alcohol. I had this over at the Diversity House earlier today as I'm recording. I'm recording this on February 5th, which is the grand opening of Diversity House. They feature two great breweries, Moore's and Steep Ravine, formerly known as Rabinia. I've had the folks on Rabinia a couple times talking about them. The location is great. Great vibe going on in there. Good crowd today on opening day. I had this one from Moore's on draft there, and it was excellent. So I want to have it here in the can and talk about it on the show. So let's crack this one open. Oh, this Helles Lager, beautiful color here, nice foam, really good aroma. I'm digging this a lot. I mean, this was fantastic when I had it earlier this afternoon. Yeah, that's good. Good flavor profile. You get the malt there, little bit of hops. I'm digging this. Good, nice, crisp, refreshing beer. Not that high in alcohol. You could have a couple of these, but I'm really digging the flavor that I'm getting out of this. It's really good beer. No, that's fantastic. That's something I'm going to keep in the fridge at all times. I'm going to have to at least keep a 4-pack of this around, and good thing they're close by now. Moore's is one of the few black-owned breweries here in Chicago, so it's good to see that they have a place where, a tap room, where people can go enjoy their beers, enjoy the beers from Steep Ravine. The food menu looks really good. I didn't have a chance to eat there today, but I'm telling you right now, I was there at 3 o'clock in the afternoon on a Wednesday. Now, granted, it was the grand opening, so I'm sure the crowds were a lot bigger, but really good crowd for middle of the afternoon on a weekday. So if you're in the Chicago area in the Logan Square neighborhood, check out the Diversity House, and if you see anything from Moore's, especially this Helles Lager, you need to put it in the cart. That's going to wrap things up for this edition of Beer in Front. I thank you very much for listening. Once again, I want to thank Leo Allen for coming on and talking about the Cincinnati Beer Tunnels. If you need to get a hold of me for show suggestions, beer suggestions, email me, dave@beerinfront.com. Have a great week. I'll talk to you next week. And remember, sometimes the beer in front of you is the best one yet.